A newborn baby is placed into a stranger's arms, not because he is unwanted, but because loving him means letting him go. On a small refugee island far from home, a mother watches helplessly as illness steals her strength and fate takes her child. She whispers his name into the night, wondering if he will ever hear it again. 30 years pass, the world changes, lives are rebuilt, but one question refuses to fade. Is my son still alive? And somewhere far away, a young man begins to ask the same question, without even knowing why. The island where love was forced apart. In March of 1990, the sea carried more than just a boat. It carried fear, hope, and a fragile belief in a better life. Over 200 Vietnamese refugees crowded together, leaving behind everything they knew. Among them were Mr. Vu Si Trung and his wife, Mrs. Lê Thi Hong, already a mother of 3 and pregnant with her 4th child. The journey lasted 6 days, 6 endless days of uncertainty, hunger, and waves that felt too large for such a small vessel. When land finally appeared, it was not home, but it was safety. They arrived on a remote island in Indonesia called Galang. Galang was not meant to be permanent. It was a waiting place, a pause between past and future. Thousands of refugees passed through it, each carrying their own story of loss. Wooden barracks stretched across the island, filled with families trying to rebuild a sense of normalcy in a place that felt temporary in every way. It was there, in December of that same year, that Mrs. Hong gave birth to a baby boy. She named him Vu Si Galang, a name that carried both his father's legacy and the island that had witnessed his first breath. But joy on Galang Island was often fragile. Soon after his birth, both of his parents fell ill with tuberculosis. Weak, isolated, and under strict medical supervision, they were told they could not care for their newborn. The risk was too great. The love they felt for their child became the very reason they had to stay away from him. Imagine that moment, a mother reaching out but unable to touch her own baby. With no choice, they entrusted their son to a relative, someone they believed could keep him safe. But within a week, illness struck again. That relative could no longer care for the child. And so, at just days old, baby Galang was placed into a social care unit within the refugee camp. There, he was cared for by 2 workers, Mrs. Nga and Mr. Fong. They fed him, held him, and became the closest thing he had to parents. Over time, a quiet bond formed, one built not by blood, but by presence. When Galang was only 4 months old, the couple received approval to resettle in Denmark. Before leaving, Mrs. Nga made a decision that would change everything. She asked to adopt the baby she had come to love. She promised his biological parents that she would stay in touch, that one day he would know where he came from. For Mr. Trung and Mrs. Hong, the decision shattered their hearts. But what choice did they have? The camp offered no future. Denmark did. They said yes, not because they wanted to let go, but because they wanted their son to live. In May 1991, baby Galang left the island. And with that, a mother's arms were left empty. 30 years of questions without answers. At first, there was still hope. Mrs. Hong held on to the promise that she would hear from her son again. She reached out, asked questions, and waited for news. Eventually, she received a single photograph, an image of her baby, sent from far away. She kept it carefully, as if it were a piece of him she could still hold. But then, silence. No letters, no updates, no proof that he was safe. In 1993, the family was forced to return to Vietnam, and just like that, the fragile thread connecting them to their son was gone. Years passed. Life continued, as it always does. There were meals to cook, work to be done, children to raise. But for Mrs. Hong, something was always missing. Every night when the house grew quiet, her thoughts returned to the same place. Is he still alive? If he is, what kind of life is he living? Her voice, when she spoke of him, carried both love and pain. A question that had no answer is one of the heaviest things a person can carry. Even Galang's grandmother could not let it go. She often blamed her daughter, unable to accept the decision that had taken her grandson away. Yet beneath her words was grief, the kind that comes from loving someone you cannot reach. She passed away without ever seeing him again. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, Galang grew up. Denmark became his home. The language, the culture, the people, everything shaped who he became. But something about his story was always incomplete. As a teenager, he learned a truth that shook him. His adoption had not been handled properly. Soon after, he was separated from the only parents he had known. It was another loss, layered onto a past he didn't fully understand. And that was when the questions began. Who am I? Where did I come from? Why does my story feel unfinished? At 24 years old, he made a decision to find his biological family. But there was a problem. He had nothing, no documents, no records, no clear starting point. His adoptive parents had hidden the truth, believing it was best. But now that silence had become a barrier. Still, he refused to give up. He turned to a Danish program dedicated to reconnecting lost families. It was his first step into the unknown, a journey guided more by hope than certainty. Years later, in 2019, that journey led him back to Indonesia, back to Galang. Searching through old records was like searching through time itself. Microfilms held the names of thousands of refugees, each line a life, a story, a memory waiting to be rediscovered. It wasn't easy. But then something appeared. A record. His name, his father's name, a note that his family had returned to Vietnam. It wasn't everything, but it was enough. For the first time, the distance between him and his past felt smaller, and so the journey continued, this time to Vietnam. The moment time could not break. When Galang arrived in Vietnam, he carried more than just luggage. He carried decades of longing, uncertainty, and a quiet fear. What if they're not there? He was taken to a program that specialized in reconnecting lost families. Inside its archive were countless stories, some resolved, others still waiting. He didn't expect much. How could he? His information was incomplete. His past was scattered. But then something happened. A search result appeared. Mother. Leti Hong is searching for her son, Vusi Galang. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. He stared at the screen, unable to speak. After all these years, she had been searching too. The realization broke something open inside him. Tears came, not from sadness, but from something deeper. Relief, recognition, love that had existed all along, even in absence. There was no more waiting. That very day, he began the journey to his hometown. The road felt longer than it was. Every kilometer carried anticipation, fear, hope. What would he say? What would they say? But when he finally arrived, none of that mattered. Because inside a modest home, his mother was living her ordinary day, completely unaware that the miracle she had dreamed of was standing just outside. When he walked in, time collapsed. 30 years disappeared in a single moment. His parents saw him and instantly knew. There are some connections that don't need explanation. They rushed forward, tears streaming, voices breaking. They held him tightly, as if trying to make up for every lost year in one embrace. And he held them back, just as tightly. Around them, others cried too. Siblings meeting a brother they had never known, neighbors witnessing something rare and beautiful. Mrs. Hong could barely speak. Her hands trembled as she clutched old photographs, the same ones she had kept for decades. I thought we would never meet again, she said through tears. Every word carried the weight of years. They sat together afterward, sharing stories, filling in the gaps of a life divided. At one point, she gently asked him, "Do you know Vietnamese?" He smiled softly. "I understand, but I can't speak it." "That's okay," she said. "I'll teach you." It was a simple sentence, But inside it was a promise that this time they would not lose each other again.